Oh, so let me tell you about a little day in the life of Jesse on Fire. So I wake up, look at my phone. What am I going to talk about today? There's got to be something I could talk about, right? Boom. Ali Abdelaziz offers title shot to Conor McGregor. Oh, that sure springs up plenty of things that I can talk about, because how many things are connected to that little tidbit? Lots, right? So before I dive into telling you that I'm the best MMA analyst on the internet and that I want the teeth of the other MMA analysts on a bone necklace, let me scale it back for a second, because there is one very serious situation that plays into all of this, which is Khabib's father in a Moscow hospital in a coma. Super serious. All prayers and good thoughts that he's going to recover. Either way, though, there's probably going to be some kind of aftermath to this situation. Hopefully, as a matter of fact, he's going to recover. Let's just put it there. Khabib's going to need to be there to help him recover. Booking a fight in the next 2 months, probably not in the cards for Khabib. I would imagine, that is me speculating based on his culture and what I know of Khabib, who is one of the most stand-up and respectable people that I have ever laid eyes on or paid any attention to whatsoever. I imagine his father's going to take precedent. Booking a fight for him is going to be very challenging, I would imagine. So let's say that happens. Gaethje then fights Conor, right? So if Conor has the Gaethje fight, that is the fight that he takes, right? That is the fight that he takes. I've done a full video on what I think will happen there. I don't need to re-go over that. But if that happens and then Conor wins and then he fights Khabib, blood feud, it'll be the biggest fight ever. Absolutely, without a doubt, right? And then if Gaethje beats Conor, then that Gaethje versus Khabib fight becomes the biggest fight ever. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing about the Gaethje versus Conor fight. That should happen. Either way, honestly, because you don't become Khabib without Conor. That's the thing that people don't seem to understand. Like, these guys who hate Conor, that are huge Khabib fans, but they hate Conor, it's like, dude, I mean, you can hate Conor because you're on Team Khabib, but you do understand, without Conor, there is no Khabib. There's no Khabib on the level that Khabib is. Khabib's generations of families are set for life financially because of Conor. I mean, that's just, so you can hate the guy, but the hype that Khabib has was taken when he beat Conor. Same as Nate Diaz, okay? This is not a complicated thing, right? Fight game. Guy builds up hype. You beat that guy. Hype becomes yours. Jorge Masvidal, perfect example. Oh, I'm going to come back from a 2-year layoff? Sure. Give me Darren Till in Liverpool. All the hype in the world, and I starch him. I'll take that. Oh, Ben Askren, undefeated? Cool. Starch him. I'll take that. Nate Diaz, all the hype in the world. I'll take that. And now, I'm the biggest star in the UFC. Top 3. Nate Diaz. Who was Nate Diaz before he fought Conor McGregor? Nobody, right? I mean, he was Nate Diaz, but he wasn't Nate Diaz. He became Nate Diaz, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers, after he beat Conor. He took his hype. When you win a fight, you take what the other guy has. That's why the game is so awesome. You are literally fighting for everything you've built in your entire life at every single moment that you're in the octagon fighting another guy. Everything that you've trained for, everything you've built throughout your entire life, all of that is on the line every moment that you're in the octagon. It's the best sport ever. It is the best sport ever for that reason. But the bottom line is, Khabib is what he is because he took that hype from Conor. Good for him. He deserves it, right? But if Gaethje fights Conor before he fights Khabib, he can take what Conor has too. He just beat Tony Ferguson, right? Think Masvidal. Masvidal starches all those guys and takes it all. Okay, Gaethje just took it from Ferguson after 3 first-round knockouts, right? He has got a lot of hype. If he beats Conor, he is Khabib level. And then it's Khabib versus Gaethje. And Gaethje, dude, look at his fight style. Has there ever been someone who would be more exciting and more popular than Justin Gaethje if he beats Conor? So that fight should happen, because it'll make the Khabib fight gigantic. You already have the same number of pay-per-views. Actually, I take that back. Either way, though, I believe you make that fight first. But let's say that fight's not on the table for Conor, right? So then, what do you got? You got 4 options, and these are the only 4 options that make sense, okay? You have Nate Diaz, which I believe makes no sense, because that fight is going to be big no matter what. Conor could lose 2 in a row, right? He can lose his next fight, then lose another one. Then when he does the Nate Diaz fight, it's going to sell equal number of pay-per-views, probably, right? You have Jorge Masvidal, which, in my opinion, now starts to make a lot less sense, given that, Kamaru Usman's willing to fight him. Although Usman is a way worse matchup. So now let's go, I'm going to stop doing this thing with my fingers. Then you got Kamaru Usman, right? One of the most horrifying matchups that I could ever think of for Conor. Think Khabib, except stronger. maybe a little less fast, but longer reach on the feet. I mean, that is a nightmare matchup for Conor. I mean, just an absolute nightmare. Now, I don't think that Conor believes anyone can beat him at 170, 155. I honestly don't. I don't think that Conor believes that there's any man that could beat him at those weight classes when he's focused. And he might be right. But on paper, X's and O's, whew, that's a horrifying matchup. But if we're just talking about who Conor's going to fight, these are the options. And if there's a 170-pound belt on the line, and Conor can become the very first fighter to ever hold 3 belts at 3 different weight classes, I mean, that sounds like the kind of legacy thing that gets Conor up in the morning, right? And, you know, the last option is Dustin Poirier, which, I mean, it's a completely legit fight. Dustin Poirier had gotten a title shot. He had won the interim title. He lost to Khabib. Now he's looking for a fight. I mean, I don't think that they'll do that fight. I just don't. That looks like a glorified version of Conor versus Cowboy, even though Poirier obviously is a much, much higher pedigree than Cowboy right now. But he's already starched him in 90 seconds. I mean, there's nothing there. To me anyway, there's nothing there. So the options then become Usman, Masvidal, or Nate Diaz. But actually, Poirier's the only viable 155-pound option. He's the only viable 155-pound option if it's not Gaethje or Khabib. So maybe it is Poirier. I don't know, but I haven't heard even a single word about that, so it doesn't seem like that's likely to happen. But does Conor take this Usman fight? Okay, so if he takes that fight, this is what I see happening, okay? This is just X's and O's. Now, again, I have said this a million times that I don't see how Conor beats Khabib either, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't bet on him. I don't know how I can say this better. It's like, Conor is the one that breaks all the rules. Usually I break down a fight, I'm like, this guy's strengths are this guy's weaknesses are this. Does this guy have strengths that match up well with this guy's weaknesses? Yeesh, right? That's how you break a fight down, and then I bet based on that, and I have a tremendously strong track record betting that way. With the Usman fight, what I see is this, right? Tremendous on the ground, very strong. Conor is going to have a very hard time outside the first round staying out of the clinch, I think, okay? Because Conor slows down just a hair, even in the second round. You get to the third, he's slower, significantly slower. And Usman will be able to clinch with him, and how strong he is, he's going to be able to take that clinch to the ground. And once he's on the ground, whew, that's a bad spot for Conor, man. On his back with Kamaru Usman on top of him, no bueno. No bueno at all. And at the same time, though, I don't know how knockoutable Kamaru Usman is, because I've never seen him really get shook. I've never seen him get just stabbed. Whatever. That's what we're talking about. Stabbed to the jowl. But, Conor has titanic power, and, I mean, listen, if you think that anybody is going to just eat that head kick that he hit Cowboy with and not get, then you're wrong. If he lands that on Kamaru, he's going to do the same thing that Cowboy did. So, I mean, again, that's why I love watching Conor, because he's magic. I didn't think he was going to beat Aldo. I actually bet on Nate Diaz in the first fight. I had bet on Conor in the second fight. But, there have been plenty of guys I thought Conor was going to lose to when he figures out a way to win. I certainly didn't think he was going to starch Aldo in 13 seconds, that's for sure. But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I got. I mean, bottom line is he's got options. I hope that he's signed in the next 5 weeks, but you understand now why he's not. I mean, first of all, you got Dana, who's just being open, listen, I make $20 million at the gate when Conor fights, okay? Obviously, he wants to try to wait this coronavirus thing out. I think Dana's having to just come to the realization that's not going to happen, right? But, yeah, but you look at this whole thing shaking itself out. You got the Gaethje fight, which is obviously the fight to make if Khabib can't fight, but Khabib's got a father in the hospital. You've got, maybe you just make the Gaethje fight anyway, so you're trying to work through timing, but Gaethje did, he got hit a little bit in the Tony Ferguson fight. He needs a little bit of time, so when's the earliest he could fight? Think about that. Then you're like, all right, well, what else do we got? Okay, Masvidal, I'm sure, would take the fight with Conor. Okay, well, now Usman's in the mix. I mean, it's just like, even if you're UFC and you have all these laid out and everybody's in, which, theoretically they might be, you still need Conor to sign on, and he has a lot of options. And I don't know, and he's all tied up in this CV thing too. Right? He went on TV and said to, everybody stay home. So he said he's down to fight now, though. As of that tweet a couple weeks ago, he's down to fight. So we'll see what he does. I'm very excited to see. Straight up, you guys, look, it's almost tired me saying this every single time, but I'm going to continue to do it. There's no one who's breaking this down like me. No one is charismatic. No one is good looking. Jesse on Fire, the greatest MMA analyst in the history of the world. That's what it is. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a new story today. I'm going to upload a new story. I realize I've been slacking on that because I have a lot of stories. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest exactly what happened, okay? And I'll tell you in that video too. One of my buddies, like, I hadn't told my friends that I was doing this, and I told all my friends, and one of my buddies that I talked about in one of the videos got really bent out of shape. Like, really bent out of shape. He was super pissed at me, and I was like, so I had to take a couple videos down, and I was like, man, and I got really nervous about telling more stories. But I am going to do a better job of cloaking people's identities now. So look for that later. Peace in the Middle East. Let's go.